Thank you to WFP for affording me this opportunity to speak and say a few words. In particular, I would like to thank the Executive Director, David Beasley, for showing leadership and supporting this memorial today for the victims of the Ethiopian Airline crash, and also the Deputy Executive Director, Amir Abdullah, for personally supporting us throughout this past year. Today I need your attention for 6 minutes. This is how long it took from takeoff to the moment of the crash. The 10th of March 2019 is a day I will never forget. It changed our lives forever. As a family, in a way, life was only just beginning. We had our beautiful 3-year-old daughter and our newborn son, and we couldn't have been happier. Even though we had lived in Rome for a few years on and off, this was the beginning of a new journey for us. Mick worked for the UN for most of his professional life, and his passion was to make the world a better place. Mick lived his life with passion. To him, people were what mattered. He was passionate about his family, his friends, colleagues, and his work. I've heard it said many times, the WFP family. Mick embodied this phrase and made us feel part of this family. To him, being an engineer, working for WFP enabled him to help the most vulnerable people in the world, to change lives and to save lives. He believed that engineering was at the heart of this, and if you provide people with the infrastructure and a safe place to work, to play and to live, you can build an environment and a society that is better equipped to support itself. You can give people hope. This was his vision. 1 year ago today, all his dreams ended. He was only 39 years old. Now all we have are photos, videos and memories. His clothes still hang in our wardrobe. We have a picture of him on the dresser, smiling that cheeky grin of his. And my daughter collects wildflowers from the garden, just like her daddy used to pick daisies for her. And she places them in front of this photo. Mick was our joy. He was fun to be around and never took himself too seriously. But he was also strong and kind. He once told me that it didn't matter to him what our kids did in life as long as they were happy and kind to others. That's what mattered to Mick. He was not afraid to take responsibility. He made you feel protected. You felt that just by having him there meant, we've got this. There's nothing to be afraid of. You could trust him because he put people first. To me, he was indestructible. Repeating Amir Abdullah's words in Dublin, he is a UN hero. Today is a sad day. It is the first anniversary of this fatal crash. A day that will forever be burnt in all our minds and should never be forgotten. After the Lion Air 737 MAX crash that killed 189 people, this second crash happened within 5 months. After many months of international aviation investigations, we now know that this second crash, which resulted in the random and indiscriminate killing of another 157 people, was definitely not an accident. It was not an act of God or the fault of a pilot. It was the direct result of a series of negligent and misleading acts within an airplane manufacturing company. Specifically, these acts appear to be the result of putting profit before people's lives. Now we know that these 737 MAX planes, which were flying in nearly every country across the world, were defective and should not have been flying. It could have been any one of us on board that Ethiopian flight. It could have been your partner, your children, your beloved ones. Once that plane took off, there could be no safe return and no safe landing. It was doomed from takeoff. Mick had travelled and worked in many dangerous and risky places. As a family, there were places he went to that we simply couldn't be with him. He was willing to put his life at risk to help others. He worked in countries with Ebola, civil unrest, war, terrorism, but it was a piece of software on an airplane that brought him down. A piece of software that was known to be defective. When it comes to aviation, there can be no room for incompetence, no room for error. People's lives are what matter. Safety is what matters. Incompetence puts lives at risk. Negligence puts lives at risk. Putting profit above safety puts people's lives at risk. Those responsible must be held to account. We have it within all of us to stand up for justice and accountability. There were 8 members of the WFP family lost 1 year ago today. Mick never gave up on his family or the people he worked for, and I personally will never give up on this demand for justice and accountability. We all have choices. You can choose. But my choice is not to fly Boeing again. For myself, even knowing the risks Mick was going through in his personal life, I supported his dreams to work for a better world. He was willing to put his life at risk to help others. He always said, somebody has to do it. But today, I would prefer if he was just my husband and the father of our kids, and that he was still with us. The time is up.